Well, welcome once again. It's great to be together. Great to be together to celebrate this Mass. And it's great to be together here at Notre Dame and together in spirit with those who are joining us on Catholic TV. You know, I during this weekend, I've run into quite a few people who have who've been away from Notre Dame for some time. So this was their first time back at Notre Dame for quite a while. And I've also run into quite a few people who have been together in person with friends that they haven't seen for a long time. It's truly great to be together in person. We know the pandemic has greatly limited our mobility. We know that we've been separated physically in many ways. We've tried our best to maintain our friendships and our relationships with one another. And thanks to technology, we've been able to do that. Despite being separated physically from one another, we've been connected. We've managed to use technology to stay connected. We've done our best to make sure that physical distance hasn't meant social distance, even though that term is used a lot. But we've tried to make sure that physical distance hasn't meant social distance, or emotional distance, or spiritual distance. And of course, as wonderful as it is to be here together, we know that friendship is about more than just being together in person, physically, but that friendship ultimately and finally is about that emotional, spiritual connection. It's about something deeper than just physical proximity or physical closeness. True friendship is about something much deeper than that, as much as we love to be together in person. Because we know that it is possible, just as we know that it's possible to be physically separated, but socially and emotionally and spiritually connected, it's also possible to be physically together, but emotionally and spiritually disconnected. Today, among other things, Jesus is calling us to deepen our connections with one another, to make sure that our friendships are not superficial, that our friendships are born of something deeper than that we are connected to one another in a deeper, more meaningful way than mere physical presence, as important as that is. And today in the gospel we hear the Pharisees ask Jesus, "Is it lawful for a husband to divorce his wife?" And they say, "You know, Moses permitted this. He permitted a husband to write a bill of divorce and dismiss her." And true, this was actually quite common during the days of Jesus, especially common for husbands to dismiss their wives when they no longer seemed to be suitable in their eyes. When it was convenient to them, they could rationalize this bill of divorce in many different ways. It was relatively uncommon for women to divorce their husbands at the time, much more common for husbands to dismiss their wives. Jesus refuses to accept this low standard of fidelity. Jesus says it's because of the hardness of your hearts that Moses allowed for this. Jesus calls his disciples to a deeper standard of fidelity. A fidelity that is rooted in deep friendship, a fidelity that is really only possible if the married couple are deep, deep friends with one another. A fidelity that's only really possible if there's an emotional and spiritual connection, a deep friendship. And those of you who are married know better than I do that it's not easy to maintain such a connection, right? There are a lot of forces in our world, in our culture, that tear at that. There are a lot of events and developments in our lives that make it really difficult to maintain this kind of connection, this deep friendship. We need God's help. We need each other's help. We need the help of people in our families. We need help of our friends to maintain those kinds of relationships, meaningful friendships, and marriages that really work. At their root, we know that marriages that really work are about a deep, deep friendship, the deepest kind of human friendship that there can possibly be. And although the gospel today is about marriage in a very special way, it also suggests something about friendship more generally. We might ask ourselves some questions. In a world where people are counting up their friendships, the quantity of their friendships, what are the quality of our friendships? How deep and meaningful are our friendships? We know that we can really only maintain deep and meaningful friendships with only so many people, right? But still, how deep and meaningful are our friendships? And are our friendships merely, or what we call friendships, merely relationships of convenience? Relationships that we maintain as long as they are convenient to us or for us. As long as we get something out of it. As long as they don't cost us anything. If you're like me, there are people in your lives who are models of what it means to be a true friend. They've been there for you when you needed them the most. They didn't walk away when the going got tough, but they abided with you. They may have literally held your hand. They have always been there for you, and they have refused to judge you by your worst mistake. They see in you something more than your worst mistake or your worst day or some failure. They see more in you than that, and they've continued to be your friends. Hopefully, this university cultivates those kinds of friendships. This university that's about seeking the truth and deepening understanding of the world around us is also about building a community turned outward into the world in love. A community of friends, true friends, who connect with each other not just intellectually, but socially, emotionally, and spiritually. We need those kinds of connections in our world more than ever. So let us thank God for the examples of faithful love in marriage and beyond. And let's pray that we might do our best to be faithful friends to one another.